That's great. That's great.
Now, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with these spirits and these entities and the likes. Are you afraid of possession at all? Are you afraid of them, like, maybe taking over and, possession of your body and actually becoming possessed by any of these things?
Absolutely not. Possession, I believe, only takes place when you openly invite negative energy, a dark force, or a demon to inhabit your body and take full, total control of you. Now, demonic manipulation happens to everyone. Whether you're a believer or a non-believer, you can easily be manipulated by something as simple as an imp or a sprite type creature, because those are demonic in nature, but they're not as hazardous, harmful, or hostile as a full-fledged demon. A demon per se you can encounter on certain investigations, but if you come bringing the light from within, usually sends them running for the hills, because they cannot be in the same room with you if you represent that.
Okay. All right. Now, my other kind of a follow-up question to that is poltergeist. Poltergeist, in my experience, have always been just kind of mischievous, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
they don't really set out to harm you, right?
Usually poltergeists, that's where you get an entire legion of imps hanging out, and they answer to one big boss. And they just are there for the purposes of wreaking havoc, creating mischief, causing you to see things that aren't there. And they normally appear in the form of children, or they appear to children to seduce them, to bring them in, acting as something that's an innocent. And poltergeists are normally fueled by internal kinetic forces, which would be a result of a traumatic experience in a family's life, like divorce, or a terminal illness, or financial issues, or infidelity. It can often fuel the fire that has always been there, but dormant, because there's not really been anything for it to feed off of.
Right, okay.
Well, that's interesting. Well, Jamie has one of your EVPs pulled up here if you want to do it. He says it's called Child's Voice, Neal.
Oh, good, it went through. Yeah, that one was recorded at the Low Hotel in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, during a weekend stay for the Mothman excursion.
So it was during a Mothman excursion weekend, huh?
That's right. And one of the igloos, as a matter of fact, I have a picture of myself taken in front of one of the igloos, and it looks like a scene out of the TV show Lost. But that's the same igloo that exploded in May of 2010, because there was active munitions inside of it, and something triggered it and it exploded. And they've had that entire layout, that whole area, closed off to the public since May of 2010. Government's supposed to be going in and sending specialists to clean out whatever munitions are left. And it's also a wildlife reserve, and a lot of hunters spend time out there with their hunting dogs, or their coon dogs, whatever they call them, or corn dogs. I'm not sure, maybe they're out there eating corn dogs, it's hard to tell. But the freakish thing, that weekend in Point Pleasant, the same time I got that EVP recording, we went out in the evening, and I took a multitude of pictures on my Sprint PCS mobile phone, which acts as a camcorder as well. It has a little toggle flip-out view screen, and you turn it and boom, it's a tiny handheld camcorder. Well, I took all of these photos, and something kept trying to access my Bluetooth, and there was no cell service out there, but something kept pinging my Bluetooth, and it happened when we got closer and closer to this end hillside where everything was shrouded in these very tall trees, and they didn't fit the rest of the landscape. All of the other trees were bent and contorted and went with like a swampy environment, a back green area, but these trees that are just perfectly lined obviously were post-dating the trees that had been there for all of those years. And I'm thinking someone obviously planted those there. And the closer we got to that, the more my Bluetooth was getting pinged. So we knew we weren't going to get through that, because it was all uphill. It was long, tall pine, and something about it didn't feel right. So we get back to the Low Hotel, and I start to retrieve these photos, and one by one, they're all deleting themselves. And it's
I work in the cell phone industry too. I mean, you just can't get a Bluetooth signal out of nowhere. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So something on the other side of those trees was obviously trying to access my Bluetooth to find out what I was photographing and how close I was getting to whatever they didn't want me to see. So I get there, and that happens. I'm like, crap. I took like over 50 something pictures in this area that goes beyond all the igloos, and I have nothing to show for it. So we go out the next day early in the morning, before we get ready to pack up and head back later that afternoon, and we go back to the same area. I start to walk back further and further, and something didn't feel right again before I even took pictures. I felt like we were being watched by 1,000 eyes. So I said to my associate, we need to get back in the vehicle and leave. I don't like this feeling. The minute we got back in the vehicle and we were driving an Envoy at that time, I started the vehicle and started to pull forward. A white van, a black dually pickup, 4 or 5 Jeep Grand Cherokees, a Hummer, and a few other vehicles all pull in right around us. And they're not blocking us in, but they're pulling in close to let me know they're there. And all of these men get out and tan, like zip-up jumpsuits with tags around their neck, wearing orange hunting hats. And they all have in the back like the dog boxes where you would take hunting dogs. But I'm thinking, they're either tracking something or they're trying to scare me, because no hunter is going to go with that many people looking for something.
Right.
Yeah. So I mentioned that to a few other people when we got back to Point Pleasant, and I was told that the mayor's son, the mayor from like 10 years before, had the same incident happen when he got out to that area where those pines are sitting now, because before that it was a fence, only a fence, and then they planted the pine trees in front of the fence since then, and they have all these cameras set up there because beyond that hillside is an actual area of 5 to 6 different hangars where choppers fly in and choppers fly out. It's still being used as a military installation.
That's some crazy stuff. I don't get that Bluetooth thing. Then your sixth sense kicked in. You get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
Good idea. So, so Jamie, you want to set up the EVP here? This one it's a child's voice, and it was what was the time and date of this one?
Oh, geez, it was
approximate's fine.
May the 23rd, 2008. It was about 1:30 in the morning, late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. Yeah.
Okay, so Jamie, cue her up, and we'll take a listen and play it a few times.
All right.
He wanted the name of the king. Good movie. Because I've heard it. I've heard it. It's kind of like Lord of the Rings in a way. You're like an odd-looking orc creature, and it's really neat to have 2 wizards in it. It's a really good movie, I think. I don't know how good it would be, but it was really good. Very happy with it. Is John Malkovich in that? Yes, I've heard of it. I've heard of it. Cool. Actually, he's in it. Gimli's in it. Lord of the Rings. Oh wow, the actor puts in. Oh my God, Burt Reynolds, the king. Yes, and he does a really good job. The girl who looks like Gimli, I can't remember her name. We just fast forwarded it a bit. Actually, and the same guy that played Gandalf will be reprising the role in the cameo. Another white wizard. Yes, they do. Ouch. Oh man, that's good. Still have the white wizard in there. Over 3 hours. Oh yeah. What's the show happens? Oh, that'd be nice. Not getting depth.